Welcome to Battle of the Boroughs with your host, Alex and Spen Harris, breaking down some Nets and Knicks news. We got Kyrie Irving doing his usual stuff, which is always entertaining. Going on Instagram Live. I know Mark Zuckerberg got the quick message, the quick DM from West or Silver rather, and he was like, "Could you mute this guy? He's making us look bad." So that was a really interesting scenario for you Nets fans, Spen, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say. But how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing all right. A lot of people who are listening right now, they got to recognize that you and I are two of the toughest podcasters in the game. So in our first episode, I pulled up with a migraine, but I manned up. I toughed out the podcast. I was able to speak words and not sound like I was delirious, which I essentially was. And then you, my friend, you are coming off this illness where you were sick as a dog all week. Was this COVID or something else?
It wasn't COVID. It might have
Okay,
been,
good.
I think I sidestepped bronchitis. I know a
Oh,
couple of my friends got it, and some of them are not doing too well, but I feel like I'm at the tail end of it. Still battled through nonetheless. And I'll tell you what, though, this is like the flu game of podcasting. We don't stop for nothing.
and that is an excellent transition into this Kyrie Irving stuff because it's about vaccines. It's about COVID-19. So for everyone familiar, there's been a lot of speculation about Kyrie Irving and whether or not he will get the vaccine, why he hasn't gotten it yet. Well, he went on Instagram Live, as Alex mentioned earlier, last night to clear the air. So on Wednesday night at around 11 p.m., I was just minding my own business. All of a sudden, I see Kyrie's live. I click on it. And, I'll say this. When he goes on Instagram Live, people listen. He had almost 100,000 viewers for the majority of his Instagram Live. It was about 20 minutes long. Going to be honest with you, Alex, it felt like about 40 minutes. I actually have some key takeaways from what he said, but basically, here's what he said in a nutshell. He hasn't gotten the vaccine, and he's not going to get vaccinated until he does more research. There's a chance that he might get vaccinated. He's not retiring. He made that clear. Say maybe the mandate will change and there's a way for him to play, but his goal, he wants to play this NBA season. And then on the other stuff, the non-basketball stuff, it's stop painting me as a villain, stop speaking about me when you don't know me. I don't want to be an example for either political party. Basically, Alex, he spent 20 minutes talking about something he could have probably said in about 3 minutes. But that's Kyrie Irving. He's a talker. He likes to express himself. And look, I don't want to get too buried into this because we can go back and forth for an hour and a half on this one specific topic, what his intentions are, what his motivation is, whether or not this was the right way to go about it, if you agree, if you disagree. The one thing I'll say is after hearing this Instagram Live from him, one thing is evident. He wants to try to play this season, and it's not out of the question that he won't get the vaccine. So that was good news if there was any, because he's not really anti-vax. What he is he wants to research it. He's questioning it. He doesn't just want to blindly take a vaccine. He doesn't want to be forced to do it. That was a huge point for him, is he doesn't want to be forced to put anything into his body. And then the other part of it is him, trying to be a voice for the voiceless, speaking out for people losing their jobs during, these mandates. Again, I'm not sure how not playing basketball helps those people. The money that you're losing from your home games, you can easily take that and donate to those people who have lost their jobs.
Interesting point.
It is.
Honestly.
I think someone might have mentioned that to me, so I'm probably using someone else's thought process. But no, that's what I took away from it. There's a chance he plays. Right now, the Nets are done talking about it. Steve Nash said, this is the team we have right now. Guys are going to have to step up. They are tired of fielding these Kyrie Irving questions. And, what does this mean, Alex, going forward for the Brooklyn Nets? I'm sure you as a Knicks fan, you're probably a little bit happier that we're not going to have Kyrie for most likely the beginning of the season. But the Nets are still a pretty damn good basketball team. You still have James and KD. You have the pieces like that you got this offseason, and Patty Mills, Millsap, Javon Carter, LaMarcus Aldridge you bring back. You still have the guys returning from last year, and Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, and Blake Griffin. So you still have a really formidable roster. Is it the best roster in the East? I don't know. Now it's a little bit closer with Milwaukee. Now you're a little bit more scared of that Miami Heat team, of the tough-nosed New York Knicks. So That's what I'll say from a basketball perspective. I don't think we should talk about the Kyrie vaccine stuff anymore because it's been talked to death by everyone in sports media. So, what are your thoughts on everything going on with Kyrie and the Nets?
I mean, look, you mentioned as a Knicks fan, I'm happy that that Kyrie Irving won't be with the Brooklyn Nets. And while yes, like theoretically that makes sense, I also enjoy watching good players. You know, like Kyrie Irving's fun to watch, man. Like he's always doing something crazy, always doing something fun and exciting. I think I'm gonna miss that aspect alone, of just his presence in the league. But you know what he's doing right now. So essentially, like you said, it's not about the vaccine; it's about being forced to take the vaccine. And I think that's just trying to like, I feel like that comes off as rebellious. I feel like that comes off as like, you don't want to just submit to like what the company that's paying you millions and millions and millions of dollars every year. Dude, like I will take the vaccine if you're going to pay me that much. Like, I don't understand how, if that's what he believes, in terms of he's okay with taking the vaccine, he just doesn't want to do it because they're making him do it. That comes off as really dumb. You know what I mean? That comes off as really dumb because I would take the vaccine if you're paying me that much. You know what I mean? A lot of people would take the amount of money he makes in his entire career and cut their lifespan in half. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not even what the vaccine does. Like, people would do anything to make that much money. And it's just like, I don't get it.
I have a buddy who was talking to me about this. He goes, look, I wasn't crazy about getting the vaccine, but my company said I needed it. If I want to make money, I had to get it. Some people don't have the luxury of having millions of dollars in the bank so they can, protest their job and sacrifice thousands and millions of dollars. My buddy's like, I got to pay rent. I got a girlfriend to support. Did I want the vaccine? Maybe not. But did my company have a mandate? And if I didn't get it, I'd have to be out on the street? Yeah. And unfortunately, that is the choice. Look, everyone has a choice on this. Kyrie has a choice. So do the people losing their jobs. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's a rule. Look, it's the same way that companies would drug test people. They still do. You can't get mad at the company for performing a drug test if that's their policy.
Or how about when you're born and they're like, you have no choice but to get how about this? Like, one of the things you have to get when you're a kid is the chickenpox vaccine, right? No one ever questions that. Like, oh, it's not. I don't even know. I'm not even old enough. I don't even get to decide. Should we raise other crop? Like, it's just dumb. Like
you're going down the rabbit hole where when you go to the doctor, Alex, are you going to question every single thing that
he knows more than me?
Exactly. He's a doctor.
I'm not listening to Kyrie Irving for my medical advice. Like, that's just the reality. But at the same time, I think there's the separation, this big separation. If you don't want to take the vaccine because of religious exemption, because of reasons that are justified, I am totally for that. I don't care. You know what I mean? That is your decision. I'm not here to argue that. But when you are okay with taking it, you just don't want to take it because your company's making you take it. That sounds really freaking dumb. It sounds dumb. It just sounds like you want to be rebellious and be like, oh, I don't want to conform to what my company wants, yet they're paying me $100 million. You know what I mean? Like, just shut up and do your job. Like, it's stupid. It's nothing to do with the vaccine.
I know exactly what you mean. And the one thing I'll say about, I'm big on Nets Twitter, right? I'm Fireside Nets, Spen Harris. Go follow me on either accounts. It's really divided, Nets Twitter, because you have one half who's like, hey, man, they agree with you. They're like, dude, at this point, just take the vaccine or don't take it and be quiet because you're not, helping anyone by continuing to look. We wanted to hear from him. He spoke. People can disagree with what he said. But like I said, you have one half of Nets Twitter who's like, dude, either take the vaccine or don't take it. But we just want you to make a decision. Then you have the other half who is, 100% supportive of Kyrie, who's like, hey, guys, this is him just speaking his truth. He's done nothing wrong in this situation. It's his body, his choice. Everyone's painting him out to be this guy he's not, what have you. So it's just very interesting when these people who have such an influence speak. Not everybody's against him. You and I feel a certain way about it. I think we're both vaccinated, but you have a lot of people who support him and they buy whatever he's saying. And it's just tough because he has such an influence over kids, over the youth. And you just want him to be relaying the most positive and efficient message possible. And I'm just not sure. I don't know if he's doing that right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Knicks are entirely vaccinated. They're bought in. They're right. Like, we want to win a championship. We don't want to do what Kyrie's doing to your team. And essentially, that's like the biggest thing is he's just distracting the rest of the players at this point with his speaking. And just be quiet, like you said. Just be quiet if you're gonna make that decision. Just don't continue to ruffle people's feathers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I have a good question for you. So I texted a buddy of mine who's big on Nets Twitter, and I said, what if the Nets hypothetically could have, and the Nets are playing the Timberwolves by the way tonight at 7:30 p.m. If you're listening to this on Friday, the game has already happened. It was their final preseason game. I'll go over the starting lineup in a second. But what if the Nets hypothetically could have DAngelo Russell and not have Kyrie Irving? You still get KD and James Harden. So you were able to keep D'Lo in that move a few years ago. KD signed, and then you traded for Harden eventually. Would you do it, knowing everything you know now? You personally, Alex.
So give me the scenario one more time.
It's KD, Harden, and a much lesser talent in DAngelo Russell, but you don't have this entire situation. You don't have the stuff from last year. You just don't have the Kyrie Irving noise that comes with his brand. Tough question.
I think I would because when you have guys like James Harden and KD, they make the guys around them better. You know what I mean? Like DAngelo Russell would probably look a lot better than he is on another team or than he would be without them. Kyrie Irving's obviously one of those guys that elevates people around him, but it doesn't matter if he's not playing. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Of course, I'd rather have DAngelo Russell because he'd actually be playing instead of Kyrie, who's just sitting there causing a ruckus. But if Kyrie's going to play, I'd rather have Kyrie. But if he's not going to play, obviously, I'm going to go with Russell.
And I'll tell you this as well. I don't know if I disagree or agree with you. It's hard for me to want to take D'Lo over Kyrie just because I think Kyrie is one of the most talented point guard or shooting guard combination players in the league. He's one of the best scorers off the dribble I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. He can score in so many different ways. He has one of the most incredible bags when it comes to taking it to the rim and shooting mid-range jumpers off the dribble. But at the same time, let's say he does get vaccinated and he returns. Some of the damage is already done. I saw, I think it was Irina Pavlovov on Nets Twitter. I'm definitely mispronouncing her name. I think she used to be part of the Nets front office when Mikhail Prokhorov owned the team. She made some great points. She said, look, he already let his teammates down. If he's not there at the start of the season, no matter what, he's not there. So when he comes back, how are his teammates going to welcome him with open arms? They probably will, but there's still that, unspoken tension where, hey man, you kind of left us out to dry and you kind of made it about you and it's supposed to be about us. So a lot of things to take into consideration. Again, I want to put the situation to bed. I hope the next thing that happens is he gets the vaccine. John Collins would disagree with me, starting power forward for the Hawks. He said the following about Atlanta's chances this year. I definitely feel like we can get to the finals. The East is loaded. Not to say we don't want to see Kyrie play, but it helps us when we don't have to see a guy like Kyrie on the court. So while you, Alex, you like to see great players, John Collins is like, no Kyrie. I just have to go against KD and Harden. Sign me up.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to be signed up for that, even without Kyrie. That's an optimistic viewpoint. But I will say this: I think that the Nets are still in a good spot. I mean, you have Kyrie, you have James Harden. What more do you need really to win a championship? Yeah. As long as the supplemental pieces that come in, as long as the guys around them can play at an average level, they're going to be a great team. I mean, look. The Lakers, man, are stacked from top to bottom. Everybody's just like, I'm going to go there on the cheap and play my heart out and try to win a championship. It seems like that's like the team to beat this year based on what they did. But I'll say this. I think the Nets cannot be rolled out. Kevin Durant showed he could carry a team on his back alone. A healthy James Harden with him is going to be dangerous. They're not going to be easy to run over. And I think eventually Kyrie Irving's going to get the vaccine. I think he just wants to drag this out and see if he can come up with anything. Because like he said on the Instagram Live, and I listened to some of it, he basically was like this. Like, they just didn't give me, like, they were all like, oh, you can use exemptions or whatever it might be to get out of it, and then they just changed their mind. And Kyrie was like, oh, I don't even have any time to like think about it and even have time. So I think he's just trying to like just brainstorm ways to get around it, and I just don't think it's going to work. And eventually he's just going to have no choice. His teammates, especially if they're losing, I think his competitive nature is going to be like, I got to get back and help this team, man. Like, I think eventually he's going to make a return. And it's going to be like when everybody like is kind of over it already, he's going to make a comeback, and then bam, like he'll just start dominating again. Everyone's going to be super happy. But like the Nets are just, went from no media attention 2 years ago to like all the media attention in the world
every single
day,
man.
It's just like, man, that's like the life of a Giants fan. Man. I'm a Giants fan. Like the life of us is always some crap, always some shit going on. There's always somebody doing some dumb shit. Always Kadarius Toney throwing punches or Saquon's ankle becoming a balloon. There's always something to talk about with the Giants. The Nets are becoming that, and you don't want that because I promise you, the media will find ways to spin into negatives always, and they make it just that's what they make money off of at the end of the day, man. So, what are you looking forward to this Nets, preseason game? I know they have a couple of guys who are on the fence, just average to maybe slightly above average players. Is there anyone that you're looking at against the Timberwolves now that you're like, I need to see some good momentum going into the regular season?
So I just got the starting five. It's James Harden, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant. They're going to start Nick Claxton, who's been kind of not around during the preseason. Nash has not played him a lot. The few minutes he's played, he hasn't been great. And Paul Millsap. So to answer your question, I want to see Nick Claxton play a little bit better. This is a guy, he's supposed to be the best defensive big on your team. The one area you struggled last year, you couldn't defend the paint. Giannis killed you in the paint. So you need, LaMarcus Aldridge, not a great defender. Blake Griffin, undersized for a center. Paul Millsap, not known for his defense. Day'Ron Sharpe is a rookie. I don't know how much time he sees this year. Nick Claxton is your defensive guy. He has to be able to protect the rim. And he's got to be a little bit better on offense, too. There was a stretch when he played with Harden where he looked Clint Capella-esque. And as a Nets fan, that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping Nick Claxton gives you Clint Capella efficiency. Kind of tailored off, because when Harden got hurt and it was, Kyrie, KD, and that was the team, Claxton wasn't the same. So I'm hoping to see him kind of get back to where he was during that those games in March and April last year. And then I'm also looking for Joe Harris. Knowing the situation with Kyrie, Joe Harris has got to be a little bit more aggressive this season. I don't care if he's got to be able to shoot. He's got to be able to make quicker decisions. He is a guy, his game has gotten better every single season. And unfortunately, at the end of last year, he was in, our doghouse because he had a bad series against the Bucks. He went completely cold. He missed a few shots that could have changed the series. You put that behind you. You understand that you're missing one of your stars, and you have to be, you have to be a bigger contributor than you were in seasons past. And Nash mentioned that, he said this team is predicated around the big three. So no matter what, everyone's going to have to step up, and there's going to have to be a third guy. Is it Patty Mills? Is it Joe Harris? Is it Blake Griffin? Is it LaMarcus Aldridge? Is it Cam Thomas? I don't know, but we're going to see hopefully a little bit tonight. And then, when they tip off against Milwaukee in the next week, we'll see what they look like with this now big two. But Alex, I want to get to an all vaccinated New York team. And those are the New York Knicks. You guys, man, if there were preseason awards, you guys might win a few. I mean, undefeated in the preseason. You just put a whooping on the Pistons, 108-100. Talk to me about this game. I watched some highlights. I saw Julius Randle played excellent. But you guys are really deep. I mean, I'm looking at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 guys played over 10 minutes, and almost everybody, well, some of your bench was in the minus category, but everyone seemed like they contributed a little bit.
And that's kind of the best part about this Knicks team. They're as deep as any team in the league. And I think that's what's going to make them good. They're going to have so many good players to come in, mitigate fatigue for those big names. And Julius Randle, man, he seems like he's in midseason form already. The guy is absolutely killing it. They've been working all off season to prepare for the regular season. And they're really using this preseason just to get some chemistry with Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker, get them involved. They're still getting Nerlens Noel back, who didn't play, should be playing on Friday. And Mitchell Robinson, they're saying might get some action on Friday as well. So these are two guys, that they really need back to really supplement the center spot, which is really being housed right now by Taj Gibson and Jericho Sims. And Taj Gibson, man, he was knocking down shots yesterday.
They started going to him early, right? He had 21 points and 9 rebounds for
Taj Gibson. Holy hell, man. The last time I've seen Taj Gibson do that, I was in diapers, bro. Like, seriously, 21 points for Taj Gibson, 9 rebounds. That was like the best game he's had in probably like 10 years. And, that's pretty impressive considering he's the third string center. Keep that in mind. The third string center, for him to do that is pretty awesome. And he was
where Taj Gibson went to college?
I can't even
USC.
Liberty? USC.
The Trojans.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that?
There you go, Southern California. No, you guys have an incredible depth at the center position, and I'm intrigued to see how Mitchell Robinson plays with this team, because I
Yeah.
feel like the last time he really played significant minutes, half the team was different.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, he only played like 35 games last year. Broken foot, broken hand. But they're looking good, man. Jericho Sims, this young gun, only had 6 minutes yesterday, but he had 13 rebounds in the game before. And the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau and RJ Barrett said it best. If you want to play for the Knicks, you have to focus on defense. Defense is the number one thing. It's the number one discipline under Tom Thibodeau. You got to be able to play defense. And they've literally dominated defensively this preseason, right? They've only allowed a high of 104 points against the Pacers in the first game, and they've kept 100 points or less in the next two against Washington and the Pistons. And they offensively have been unbelievable. Their low is 108 and their high is 125. Like, this is a team that is hitting shots consistently. They're increasing their 3-point attempts, and they're hitting at a similar clip. So, like, that's really what's standing out to me, is just they're doing a really, really great job in that area. And right now, they shot almost 40% from 3-point range and took 33 shots against the Pistons. And then, against the Wizards, they were just heaving and absolutely connecting. 46% from 3-point range and shot 52 attempts. Like, that's elite level 3-point shooting for a team right there. And they've added more playmakers in Fournier and Walker to really contribute in that way. So I think this team, they have the potential to really surprise some people. I see them at 43 wins. I forget who exactly posted that, but I think it might have been Vegas, some casino or whatnot, or some book.
The city of Vegas just posted
the city.
it.
Yeah,
the Twitter for Las Vegas is just like Knicks odds.
Twitter of Vegas. Yeah, they're like, I think it was Caesar's Sportsbook, I believe. I think it was Caesar, so I'm not entirely sure. One of the big ones. And they hit the Knicks at 43 wins, which is less than last year after adding talent. And I don't really understand why or how that makes sense. Yeah. But I'm pretty hyped, man. Like, this team, I'm gonna be taking the money lines on them a lot to begin the year, because they're gonna be underrated to start the season. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna take those all day long, and I'm gonna win all of them.
I think you have a lot to be hyped about. And I think Knicks fans should be excited in general. This box score is, I know it's just a preseason game, but 4 out of 5 of the starters had at least one steal. You had Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, and RJ Barrett, all with 5 or more assists. And this was not a good shooting game for Barrett. He was 3 of 11 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, but he was still a plus 12. It's because he had 7 rebounds. I mentioned the 6 assists. He was the only guy without a steal in the starting 5, but he had a block. And 3 out of your 5 starters had a block or more. Gibson had 2. So it's the little things, man. I never see that. I've never looked at a box score and seen 4 out of the 5 starters getting at least one steal. And you talked about how defensive-minded they are. That's the Tom Thibodeau effect. You don't get that with Mike Woodson or what was your previous coach's name? David Fizdale. You don't get that with those guys. There are not a lot of guys in the league that coach the way Thibodeau coaches. And I love his post-game presser, man. Like, obviously, Steve Nash, that's my guy. He's my head coach. I ride or die with him. But Tibbs in the post-game presser, I forgot what the question was. He just goes, "I'm just a laid-back dude," which is very funny, because he's the opposite of that. Yeah, he wants him on the sideline. He wants to chew off somebody's head every time there's a
postseason basketball in the preseason.
Exactly.
That's what he looks like. He looks like he's pissed off. I don't know how he has no wrinkles on his forehead, bro. Like, straight up, he's just like all game. He looks like a villain from any show. You know what I mean? Like, he straight up, any movie, any super villain is him. Like, he could be what's the guy with like the 8 legs from Spider-Man in the beginning?
Dr. Octopus. No, it's not that.
Kind of sounds right, though.
I'm gonna look it up. I think it's Oculus. Let's see. I'm gonna
Dr. Octavian, Dr. Octavius or something.
Is that it? It's just Dr. Octopus is the first. Dr. Otto Octavius. Dr.
Otto Octavius. Yeah, he looks like he could be the supervillain of.
He's coming back, by the way, for this new Spider-Man movie. So shout out to he's still played by. Oh, God. Here you go. Alfred Molina played him in Spider-Man 2, and he'll be back for this new Spider-Man. But
wow.
I'm with you. Tibbs sort of looks like him. He sort of looks like the Spider-Man villain from Spider-Man 2. And the second part of his quote.
Wouldn't that be a show? Ooh. If he just burst out with 8 limbs in the middle of the game. Oh, my God.
just cast Thibodeau in the next Spider-Man. I bet you'll get more viewers. But no, the second part of his quote that I loved, he wrote, or he said, "My way isn't for everyone. My way is for me. Everything matters to me." So preseason games, Alex, that don't matter to, I want to say 97% of people watching them, they matter to Thibodeau. It matters to go undefeated in this preseason. And I'll tell you the funny thing. We have another coach in New York who's supposed to be like Thibodeau, but he doesn't get any of the same results. He doesn't have any of the accolades that Thibodeau is. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I say Joe Judge.
It's Joe Judge. It's Joe Judge, Alex. Joe Judge is a Tom Thibodeau wannabe. That's who he wants to be. He wants to be this tough-nosed, no-nonsense coach. But the difference is Thibodeau gets it out of his guys, and Joe Judge not as much.
And I think it's a little bit on the work ethic of the players at times. You know, like RJ Barrett before every game, he shoots the night before every home game, and he just stays there late with Tom Thibodeau and just asks him, how can I be better? Quickly, Miles McBride, Quentin Grimes, after the game, after the preseason game yesterday, they stayed after to get more work in. These guys want to win, man. He has those guys like genie in a bottle, man. Like he's just rubbing them for wishes. And I don't really know what to expect moving forward. It was a terrible analogy.
I hope he's not actually rubbing them for wishes. I really,
Let's say rubbing the basketball for 3-pointers. Let's go with that analogy. Just absolutely whiffed on that one. That was my bronchitis talking. I'm gonna cough that one up to bronchitis. That was a better joke.
Cough that one up to bronchitis. Yeah, that was clever. The rubbing the belly for a wish, that got me more of a laugh than the bronchitis.
Yeah, every now and then I make very, very questionable comments that I regret later on.
I love it, though, bro. That's podcasting 101. You got to make those to get more listeners. I love it. And I know it's authentic, too.
Oh, it's very authentic because I do not see them coming. Another one, just freaking off the rip, man. Honestly, when you're looking at this Knicks team, though, I think that Tom Thibodeau, like you mentioned, is really the catalyst. Like, he's whipped them into shape. And the front office has done a good job finding him talent to work with too. And they're listening to what he has to say. And those guys care, man. Like Julius Randle, he put in the effort. Tom Thibodeau came up to him probably the first day he was hired. He was like, Julius Randle, I will make you an all-star. I will make you one of the best players in the league, but you got to trust me, man. I see what you're capable of. I see what the potential is here. He saw his 3-point percentage increase by 15% in one season. You know what I mean? Like he's that good now. And he was not that good before. He's turning players into great offensive players after they've become elite defensive players. And I think that's the right way to build a player. Make them great defenders before you make them great offenders. Because if you can keep a team to 90 points with your great defense, all you need is average defense to win, right? But if you can get those teams at 90, 100 points, and now you've developed those guys offensively as well, and you're scoring 110, 115, even 102, you're still winning games. You know what I mean? Like I love the logic and the mentality of this team. They care. It's obvious. They love each other. The chemistry is there for one another. They're friends. There are a lot of great friendships blossoming. And I think that's what's special, man. Like I think the best teams have the most fun playing, but they also are the most serious. Like Michael Jordan, you look at him and you're like, okay, like I don't even know if he had fun. He just wanted to kill people. He wanted to dominate. He wanted to be amazing. But that was his version of having fun. I mean, everybody has their own version of having fun and whatnot and playing a sport or, doing your hobbies. And I think that if you can have fun playing the game and play at a high level, there's nothing that can beat you except for yourself. And I truly believe that. These guys are good enough, and most teams are good enough. Like the Giants, look, they're a great example. They beat themselves more than other teams beat them. And I think that's one of the biggest things in sports.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And you brought up the mentality of this Knicks team. I mean, look, I think we all know, and I think the media knows that the Knicks aren't a top 3 team in the East. Maybe they're 4, maybe they're 5, but you have the Bucks, you have the Nets, you have the Heat, the Hawks might be ahead of the Knicks. Try telling Knicks players that they're not a top 3 team in the East. Try telling the Knicks when they go into Barclays and they play the Nets that they're the lesser team. They don't think that way, man. The way that Thibodeau has sort of instilled this narrative in their heads, like as long as we stick to our principles, which is defense, as long as we're able to knock down some of our threes on offense and we follow our veteran leaders in Julius Randle and Derrick Rose, and we follow, also we lean a little bit on the young guns in RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, we have that balance. we can beat anybody. And I think that's the Knicks mentality. That's how they feel going into every game. So, like I said, you guys are in a great position for the future. Leadership is there. The team is there. Are you a top 3 team yet in the East? Probably not. But are you knocking on that door? I mean, the way they've dominated in preseason, if they make a midseason acquisition, they get one more, big gun next to Randall and Barrett and Rose. I would not want to see them in the playoffs, especially. And I'll say this last thing. I wanted to just put this out there. One of the best things to ever happen to Julius Randle was playing for Los Angeles and being in the presence of the late, great Kobe Bryant. And he talked about it last year. Last year was his breakout year. He talked about, those moments. I think it was in Dallas. I think you remember the story where Randall's from Dallas. So, that night he was going out. He wanted to go out with his family and friends. And Kobe made him get in the gym and practice. And they just put up shots together for the whole night. And I think that really, I don't know if it helped right away, but I think that was partially, the reason he was so great last year, and he's been a leader for this Knicks team for the past few seasons.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. When a guy like Kobe Bryant coins you and picks you to go and shoot with him all night long, he sees something in you. He doesn't just pick anybody to do that. You know what I mean? He picks someone who he thinks has the potential to be great. And I think that's, just another thing he left behind. And really interesting facts about Kobe Bryant. I don't know if you know this. Probably do. He grew up in Italy and knows that he's fluent in Italian, which is pretty badass.
That is pretty badass.
Yeah, did not know that. But I guess I found that out a couple. I guess like kind of when he passed, I was doing some research. And
I think he can speak a little Mandarin too, Kobe, because Kobe was huge in China.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he did a lot of traveling. He went around. But yeah, impact that man had on a lot of people does not go unheard. Like it's clear that he helped a lot of people. And I think that him passing really helped people appreciate what he gave and all the good stuff that he did for them in the time and effort he put into them. And Julius Randle probably remembered that and said, you know what? I can't fail, man. Like that guy saw something in me and he picked me and he's told me things. And like he probably never told anybody else. And he probably hasn't told them the media, like things that he said to him. And that would motivate the hell out of me too, man. I gotta say.
Before we finish up, I just want to give a shout out to your starting point guard, Derrick Rose. He got engaged on Tuesday. He actually popped the question at center court in Madison Square Garden.
So funny.
To his longtime girlfriend, Elena Anderson. So kudos to him. I couldn't have thought of a cooler way to propose to your girlfriend than the center of Madison Square Garden. Thibodeau reacted. He said, not bad, referring to the spot of the proposal. I'm really happy for him. Just seeing where he is. He's in a really good place on the court, off the court, all around. Elena is a wonderful person. Just seeing how happy he is, we're thrilled. Thibodeau was asked if he would be Rose's best man, and he said, I don't know about that one. And then Julius Randle at the press conference after the game, when they asked him about Thibodeau, Randle goes, oh, you mean Derrick's best man, or you mean Rose's best man? So look, the Knicks are all laughs. You guys are lucky right now because you don't have controversy. You don't have this negative news surrounding your organization.
Kind of it's crazy.
And I'm kind of jealous. And look, I don't need to see it from Knicks fans every fucking day on Twitter talking that shit, being like, oh, all our players are vaccinated. Like, I understand you guys are vaccinated. I understand you don't have controversy. I'm acknowledging that. I don't have to be reminded from you sourpuss Knicks fans who are still pissed at us.
We deserve this. We deserve this, man. I mean, to hear a Nets fan say I'm a little jealous, that makes us feel good. And you don't understand, it's been suffrage here. Suffrage. Like, we've had to go over to the Giants, and then it's just more suffering. Yankees, more suffering. Rangers, more suffering. Islanders, a little bit less suffering. Like the Mets still suffering.
More suffering. Right?
Yeah,
like the Jets. It goes on and on.
It is
and
like
with you.
We are in the Mariana Trench of sports in New York right now. And I think
Governor Cuomo suffering.
Yeah, just not even talk about that. And then it's a good toss.
It's another loss. You got a lot of losses in New York these last few months.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it's been an absolute shit show. And it hasn't gotten better. And we were like all the way down there with the fish with the antenna and the freaking light. And they're all with all the teeth. We're all down there with them. And they're looking at us like, who the hell is that? That guy's ugly. And we're like, all right, we're starting to like kind of go up a little bit. We're seeing some light peek through the abyss. Let's allow that light to come in.
Yes.
Allow the end of the tunnel. Allow the light to come in. Let's get to the surface. Breach the surface like a whale. and enjoy a little bit of fresh air.
Just because I'm pro Nets does not mean I'm anti Knicks. But if Knicks fans talk shit, you best believe it's on site.
That's only fair. That's only fair.
It's on site. That's
if
how
you're
I'm
talking shit. You deserve.
All
to,
my
you
friends are
be
Knicks
called.
fans, Alex. None of my friends are Nets fans. I had to fight with them and basically be like, "Yo, like I went to a finals game when I was 10 years old. How many finals games have you been to?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's very fair. I agree with you. I have no animosity towards the Nets whatsoever. But if they do, if people want to talk smack, they don't expect me to just sit there and take it.
Yep,
that's part of being a sports fan, man. That's part of being a sports fan. You always got to be defensive.
All right, what else do you have? Do you have anything else for me or the listeners? Any final message you want to get off your chest?
Absolutely, guys. So make sure to subscribe below on Apple and Spotify and obviously YouTube. We're going to be pumping out content weekly, especially when the regular season rolls around. So I hope you guys are starting to enjoy this channel and enjoy some of the conversations that we are having. And it's going to be really fun as we get to know both teams a little bit more and what their identity is this upcoming year. I'm really excited for it. I know Knicks and Nets fans are going to be dying to see us go back and forth at who's better, especially during those rivalry weeks. I'm really hyped for it. So it's going to be awesome, guys. Of course, make sure to subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Go Nets. Go Knicks. Have a good one.